Get ready to be inspired by the people, stories, and opportunities in Africa. We're a global community of Africans and friends of Africa with no boundaries. Together, we celebrate the continent's successes and help provide solutions to some of its greatest challenges. Impact Africa airs live every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. GMT at listenvisionlive.com. You can also catch previous episodes on iTunes and on the show's website, impactafricaonline.com. Connect with Impact Africa on Twitter and Facebook at @UImpactAfrica. Together, we'll discover that the real Africa is full of amazing talents and great opportunities. Welcome to Impact Africa. Africa has long been associated with needing aid and handouts. Today, you'll learn so much more about this wonderful continent from enlightening stories, people, and ideas. Now, here is your host, Tope Fajingbesi.
Good morning and welcome to Impact Africa today. My co-host, Tope, is traveling today, so I will be here with you, and she's listening. We say good morning to you, Tope. We are very, very privileged to have you join us today, this morning. We're going to have a very, very exciting show for you. Thank you for joining us today. It's Black History Month, and we are celebrating the accomplishment of Black people and all around the continent, as well as here in America. And we're going to have actually two exciting guests that I am going to discuss with you later. And this is really fantastic to really celebrate Black History Month, because for whom much is given, much is expected. There are men and women who have worked so hard for us to have this freedom and live in dignity. And people like Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks. So today we celebrate also their life. Today we are going to have somebody, a son of Africa, who's a filmmaker. And his name is Chike Nwoffiah. He's actually lives in Silicon Valley, lives in the San Francisco Bay Area. Chike is the founder of Silicon Valley African Film Festival. He is actually a world-renowned filmmaker, an actor, and a producer. And also has a lot of projects on TV and as well as multimedia projects. We welcome him to the show today, and we're very, very happy to have him on the show. He's also the founder of Silicon Valley African Film Festival, also the co-founder of the Houston African Film Festival. Thank you, and thank you for joining us, Chike. Welcome.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
That's good. Anyway, we want you to tell us, because we're celebrating Black History Month, so we're telling a story through movies, and you happen to be a movie a producer. I'm a filmmaker, and we're celebrating Black History Month. I was actually looking at one of your YouTube videos, and it's called The Reflection of a Nigerian American, and it's really amazing. It was really amazing to hear you talk about your story, because it resonated so much with me coming to the United States 21 years ago and hearing you talk about your story. And what was fascinating about this, you talked about all of a sudden now you notice that you're Black. All of a sudden you are now an African American. And now you have to represent a whole African continent, a billion people. Can you talk to us about that?
Well, it's the common journey that those of us immigrants in this country face, and it's not only even with the Africans such as ourselves, but being a transnational where we still have one foot planted in the old country and one foot in the new country. For some of us that have been here for about 25 years. One finds that when one leaves one's homeland, such as we did, and I did, live in Nigeria and coming to the United States, I don't ever remember anyone referring to me in Nigeria as black. You know what I mean? And one's identity was formed based on one's family, one's village, one's ethnic, background, or whatever it was, whatever those constructions were back home. But as soon as one stepped foot into this country, you had no choice other than to find yourself being identified within the bigger, race, class, and whatever it was that America had so perfectly constructed for itself, for this society to become what it is today. And so that was what I was referring to, is that narrative about the several identities that one had to go through. Mm-hmm. And in one context, you are referred to as black, and it's just handed to you right there at the airport when you arrive. Mm-hmm. And then as you begin to, and as I was saying in that narrative, when it's handed to you, no one gives you instructions of what that really means. And I think that was also the kind of thing that Chimamanda was referring to in her book, an incredible book, Americana, where the main character was, running through this whole journey of what does it really mean when all of a sudden you're being identified in a way that you've never heard or connected with before. But the reality soon sets in because you begin to experience what that really means. In as much as you don't come with the whole historical background of that particular identity, but soon enough you have to wake up to it and understand that that's your reality.
Yeah.
And so what I try to explain in that narrative is just that whole journey that one takes, and these identities keep getting handed to you. You don't ask for them, you don't self-define them, and you have no choice.
Yeah.
And you could in your bedroom reject it, but as soon as you step out the door, it is in your face.
That's very true, very true. And I like also the fact that you said we need to educate America. And I think you're doing it perfectly in your film and also theater. I want you to tell us, what is the Silicon Valley African Film Festival? Because I know there's the Silicon Valley African Film Festival. There's also the Houston African Film Festival. I want us to tell us the difference between the two for us that would probably confuse your role in both film festivals.
All right. Oh, well, excellent question. First of all, I would say one gives birth to the other, and let me explain. The Silicon Valley African Film Festival is a festival that we started about 6 years ago in the San Francisco Bay Area. And as the name implies, it's an African film festival that is held in the Silicon Valley region of California. Mm-hmm. And that festival in itself came out of this kind of conversation that we're already having. It primarily came out of this whole misperception of Africans and Africa itself. Mm-hmm. When one encounters this society, not only in the United States, but oftentimes outside of the African continent, mm-hmm. There's a certain sense of shock, if you will, that you experience when people begin to relate to you in certain ways and talk about this continent that one comes from in very strange ways that while you were there, you never could even understand it. And people think, if they haven't experienced it, they think that maybe you're kidding when you tell them the kinds of very odd questions that people ask you. And somebody comes up to you and says, "Oh, you're an African," and you say, "Yes, I am," and "Oh, I went to school with this African brother, you might know him." And, but these are realities, and you and I know that we've encountered those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And then, but to push it even further, you find that people's view of Africa is what I call the Tarzan perspective of Africa. Mm-hmm. Africa that is the jungle, Africa that is the place that is desperate, the National Geographic view of Africa as mm-hmm. a place where there are just children that are dying every day, and there's disease, there's poverty. Africa, therefore, has been branded and framed in the context of this deplorable place. Mm-hmm. But for those of us that grew up there, yes, every society mm-hmm. has its challenges.
Yes.
And but we know that there is a different kind of Africa that we understand. That is the everyday Africa, where people are carrying on
yes.
with their lives.
Absolutely, absolutely.
an amazing middle class. You have, the upper class and the lower class and the whole mix of the thing, where people are celebrating every day, doing birthdays, going to school, going to work, going to businesses, and life carries on. And so one got really very upset, if you will, about these kinds of classifications of Africa and this kind of branding that I thought, as a filmmaker, as a film producer, and the whole thing. I'm also on the adjunct faculty at Melo College, where I teach African history, as a matter of fact. And so I felt, the visual medium has become so powerful in framing African people's perception. Why don't we use that same medium to invite people into a conversation about what I call the real Africa? And so that's how we started the Silicon Valley African Film Festival. And then just quickly, the Houston African Film Festival became an offshoot of that. And so whilst we have done the film festival in Silicon Valley, California for 5 years, this year will be the very first year for the Houston edition of that festival.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating. And you're inaugurating it this next week, right? February 6th through the 8th?
Yes. February 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Okay.
It's going to be the weekend to be in Houston.
So if you're in the Houston area, or you are anywhere and would like to actually go to the Houston African Film Festival, please take your children. It's really fantastic, and everything that we do, we have to include our children because they're the next generation and they need to see and know our history. And also, you touched a little bit about. I like the fact that your movies shows the complexities of the continent. But I am a total believer that we Africans, we are the ones who have to solve our problems. And the fact that movies can go beyond just showing and highlighting the grim headlines that we are used to. But then you have these movies that come out to show a different narrative as well, and of Africa, and which shows the power of film to change the narrative. And how can we change the power, the narrative, and use movies and theater as a way to change our stories?
I think you've hit it on the head. We say that a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yes.
And that's a very powerful statement. But then if you translate that into film language, you will understand that a second of film is typically 30 frames, which is about 30 pictures. And so if one photograph is worth 1,000 words, then you can imagine what a second of film is worth. Okay. And then you can expand that into a 10-minute short film or a feature-length film that is an hour and a half. That's very powerful. And one thing that excites me is I've traveled across the continent and continue to do so and relate to filmmakers. We have an incredible, and you and I know that talent is not our issue.
Absolutely.
We have amazing talents on the ground.
Absolutely.
And we have incredible emerging filmmakers, young filmmakers. We also have some amazing veteran filmmakers on the continent that are doing some incredible work, that are challenging the status quo, that are presenting alternatives. And these are the filmmakers that we are giving voices to. And yes, I think through film, and not just film, I think all hands need to be on deck. The amazing work that you and Tope are doing through Impact Africa creates that. It animates all this forward movement towards the African Renaissance, as I call it. And so filmmakers on their part, those of us that are in that business, are also doing our bit. We draw attention to it. We put the mirror in front of us to say, take a look. And what do you see? Do you like what you see? If you don't like it, how do we change it?
Absolutely.
Sometimes we just provoke thought, but some of the films also go as far as, preferring certain, possible solutions, or at least inviting people to a conversation about what we can do. And so with the new generation now that is very tech savvy and media savvy, that's a very powerful social media movement, and people are taking and doing films on iPhones and smartphones and all that. And so it's now a very interesting democracy of information.
Absolutely.
And I think therein lies the power of the next generation and the power of this movement, which is like some people are saying, the revolution is not going to be televised; it's going to be tweeted.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so I think the filmmakers have taken it on, and that really gladdens my heart to see the kinds of films we have in the lineup, as you would see in Houston, are films that celebrate our amazing culture, that celebrate today's Africa in its modernity, but also films that we put there intentionally because some filmmakers have decided to challenge the status quo and call attention to issues we need to address.
Oh yeah, just to validate that point, because as you were talking, I was thinking about this movie Coming to America, and how it just changed the narrative, because now all of a sudden there's a country called Zamunda that doesn't actually exist, but and there's King Jaffo, the ruler of Zamunda, and all of a sudden African men were prince, and African women, American women were flocking to date them all, and because of the riches of Africa and showing all the opulence. So it's very, very powerful, and movies can really change a perception. So I just thought about that when you were talking about changing the narrative.
Right.
Now let's come to, I want to talk about distribution of African movies, because I know there's Nollywood, and we all love Nollywood. And also because now most of the time you see a movie or something in the theater, and you research it and want to see it, but then you cannot see it. So let's talk about the distribution of African movies and how we can make it more accessible, and what is the Silicon Valley African Festival doing about this?
Well, that's a loaded question, and I will take it a slice of it, or take it slice by slice. I think there's a movement that is afoot. That is, a lot of things are beginning to happen. The celebrated film industry in Nigeria that is, called Nollywood, has really come of age. And, films are being made in their hundreds, literally, every month in Nigeria. And people all over the country are very fascinated and excited about that. And so am I, because in fact, I just got back from Nigeria a few weeks ago, had some incredible conversations with filmmakers down there. And just to see the length and breadth and the diversity of films that are coming out of that country is something, it's a blessing. But yes, you're quite right that when one is looking at films here that come out in theaters, you don't see our films distributed. And it's just a question of the economics. It's not about anything else. It's just about the almighty dollar.
Yes.
And so part of what we're also doing, and first of all, let me go back a little bit, because when we talk about the economics, it's also economics in the sense that the major film distributors have not been able to connect the dots. They have not been able to understand that if you pick a Nollywood film, for instance, and put it in a theater, that you are going to get the return on your investment. They've not been able to understand that you have such an audience right here in the United States that can support such a film.
Yes.
And one of the things, so part of the rebranding, part of showcasing these films that we are doing is also part of education and collaboration with the majors, so that we can begin to get them into the houses where African films are. And they can begin to understand that there is an amazing, audience, hence an amazing opportunity that they're losing out on. And as soon as you can make that convincing point and have it as evidence-based,
yes,
trust me, the majors are going to come on board. There are a couple of interesting things that are happening even within the Hollywood circles right now that gives me a lot of hope and a lot of promise.
Absolutely.
At our film festival in Silicon Valley in October, Relativity Studios actually sent representatives to our film festival because they've started what they call Relativity Education right there on their studio lot in Hollywood. And then in November, I happened to travel with them to Nigeria to the African International Film Festival.
Okay.
So, so there are things that are coming on, and it takes time to have people get out of their comfort zones, if you will. And as soon as we can continue to make that case, I would say within the next 5 years, you're going to start seeing more of our films, not only in the film theaters, but also on television. Because, I mean, it's really amazing that up till this point, you don't see our films on television in terms of the majors here, because they think that, there won't be enough eyeballs for them.
Okay. That's great. We're looking forward to that. That we, the time that we could watch all these movies everywhere. I just just go on YouTube or iTunes to be able to download all these movies. But anyway, I was looking at one of your movies, Sabar, A Life of Dance, and also a Dazzling Mirage. And I'm from West Africa, and Senegambia, of course, we are known, for the Sabar and the exotic dance, and I really like that movie. And also the Dazzling Mirage, I was not able to find the trailer to that to be able to see it. What is that about, the Dazzling Mirage?
Oh, actually, Dazzling Mirage is a film by one of our veteran filmmakers, Tunde Kalani's latest film that we were fortunate to screen at the Silicon Valley African Film Festival. And Tunde Kalani is a very respected filmmaker from Nigeria. Okay. And he makes an amazing film in Dazzling Mirage, the feature-length narrative film that uses, it kind of zeroes in. I think
we have that image. We have that image, right?
Of sickle cell anemia. But what he does is rather make it a very fictional film. Yeah. He kind of puts the film, encases the film within the context of a love story. And so as the story unfolds, and I know the film is still making its rounds, so I won't give away the whole plot. But the thing is, as the story unfolds, you begin to understand, as he says in the movie, you begin to get sickle smart, because sickle cell anemia is a major difficult disease that I say is a racist disease, because it's expressed mostly predominantly amongst people of African ancestry, particularly in the tropics. And so I think he uses this film to make that information about that disease very accessible to us. Wow. Sabah is a film that I produced and directed a few years ago, and of course, the elegant Sabah dance of Senegal. Yes. Something that stole my heart several years ago. And when I wanted to make it, first of all, I had intended to actually do a documentary on the African dance movement in the United States. Okay. But after a little bit, we transitioned that idea into a narrative story. And so it's not a documentary, it's a drama, it's a love story. And the Sabah dance of Senegal becomes the heartbeat of the story. And it's about a young African-American woman that grows up dancing hip-hop. Mm-hmm. And just by virtue of accident, she stumbles into a Sabah dance class in Oakland, California. Mm-hmm. And her life begins to change. And as she tumbles into the dance, into that movement and that life, she actually not only discovers the dance, but she begins to find her true self. And so we say that, life in itself is a dance. And in the film, dance becomes a metaphor for all the relationships that she ends up having, with her mom. She needed to choreograph that dance. With her best friend, she needed to choreograph that dance. With her dance instructor, she needed to choreograph the dance. And so as she journeyed through life in the film, also with her boyfriend, she needed to choreograph the dance. And so life in itself is the dance. And the relationships have to be choreographed, carefully.
Thank you. And this is my last question to you. And thank you so much. What advice do you have for aspiring young filmmakers and actors who are interested in breaking through in this industry? And how can we as Africans support African film?
Okay. And I will answer very quickly. The first one is very simple. I tell young filmmakers every time, including veteran filmmakers, if you're a filmmaker, make films. You can talk about making films, or you can go ahead and make films. If you're a filmmaker, make the film. That in itself is the very first thing. And as much as it might sound cliche, that's very important. Far too often we spend a lot of time talking about making the film, talking about it, and 2 years later you're still talking about it. Yeah. And so I tell the young up-and-coming filmmakers, don't wait for that big budget to make that film. You may not, don't go and write a film that's going to require, buildings to explode and all of that stuff. Make the film and hone your craft. The other advice I have for all filmmakers, particularly our brothers and sisters that are making films, is continue to study. Never feel too proud or too big to study. Learn. Keep learning. There's Google University right now, or YouTube University, or whatever. Just go for it. Keep learning and keep trying things, even in the comfort of your room. Turn on that camera. Do a few things with that. Keep learning the form. Any opportunity you have, learn. Any workshop you can take. Keep improving your skills and network. Present yourself in places where, the film community gather, go to film festivals, even if you don't have a film in it. Come out and interact with those that are curating the film festivals, get to know the film festival directors, because even if you don't have a film in your festival and you walk up and introduce yourself, you might strike a relationship and they might say, listen, whenever you have something, I would like to say it. And your film can get into a film festival. And you never know what happens from there. And so make the films, keep studying, and network. These are you have to do these things if you're going to ever go anywhere in this industry. And so I think what we can do to support our filmmakers is to come out and see their films. And also one important thing is we should stop pirating.
Yes,
films.
Yes, absolutely.
And when I
absolutely.
say that, I mean it, because when somebody comes up to you, and we know that even in the United States, where we go to some meetings and somebody at that meeting gets up after the meeting and starts hawking some DVDs or something, they say, I just got back from home, I have some movies.
Yeah.
You need to question them right there.
Yeah.
Let's not hate these people, because you have to ask them, if I buy this film that you're trying to sell to me for $10, how much of this is going back to the filmmaker?
Yeah.
And guess what?
None
None of that.
Yeah.
So we need to stop aiding this kind of thing if we want our filmmakers to survive. We need to support the legitimate distribution channel. It doesn't cost that much to go and download a film, pay for it and download it. It's $2.99, whatever it is. Let's support those legitimate channels and say no to these pirated films, because it's costly, it's theft, and it's not fair
absolutely.
to our filmmakers.
Chike Nwoffiah, thank you so much for coming to Impact Africa. And Chike was in 2000 was one of the top 10 most influential people in San Francisco. That is a very, very big deal. We say congratulations to you, and good luck on the Houston African Film Festival. Please, 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 everyone, go out there and support African film. Thank you so much for coming, our brother.
Thank you. And I appreciate what you and Tope are doing, and you have all our support. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll have a second guest. Thank you.
More than 1,500 people have died as a result of the insurgency in northeastern Nigeria.
In fact, just a virus. It's a virus that the human body can create antibodies against, and the method of
Hey son,
provided was
where you coming from?
I just stepped out. I'm just coming back now.
You get the news?
Yeah.
Oh, terrible.
I heard about it. Really very sad. The whole fighting everywhere, the whole Ebola situation,
Terrible.
hunger everywhere, economic breakdown, different things. Everyone together need to sit up to put things right. That's what I think.
Yeah. Both together, we have to fix it.
Yeah. Everyone have to wake up to fix the whole thing.
Definitely.
Power and fame has become the order of the day. tell me what's the need to struggle if all we do fades away. The more I try, the more I die. But how are we supposed to live if nobody wants to change? Every day I'm drowning without direction. Never had a mentor, no get connection. But I know that one day you go see my actions. We will change the nation. Change is what we need.
Alright, just stand
Change
by. I
is
can
what
hear you
we
very well. Thank
need.
you.
The time is now.
Nonale dumala sukal. Nonale dumala wowe chef.
Change is what we need. Change is what we need. The time is now. How long do we keep promoting corruption in our continent? How long do we keep reducing our sisters in our environment? We cannot fight, and so we hide. But how are we supposed to live if nobody wants to change? Every day I'm drowning without direction. Never had a mentor, no get connection. But I know that one day you go see my actions. We will change the nation. Change is what we need. Change is what we need. The time is now.
Utalbiu Bulsukal buko eshe Bultabiu busuk Nyepayam ki Allah Nyepayam idwa Defal mong Wakal mong Defal mong Nyepayam idwa
Change is what we need. 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 The time is now.
No one top of task. Defco. Numala suko. Numala weshe. Defco. Molawa. Defco. Molawa. Defco.
You are listening to Impact Africa. To connect with the program, please call 1-443-499-2755. That's 1-443-499-2755. You may also send an email to info@impactafricaonline.com or tweet @UImpactAfrica. Now, back to our show.
That was beautiful music by Jay Martin. of Nigeria, and Youssou N'Dour of Senegal. The music is called Time Is Now. And this music, I'm just so fascinated with the music because it talks about change. It talks about a lot of issues and complexities that Africans are going through in terms of corruption and what we need to do to change that. And it is saying the time is now. The time is now. We need to change to make that continent the richness and the civilization and the culture and what it's supposed to be. So that music is really fantastic. I'm really feeling that music right now. Our next guest coming to the program is Black History Month. We're celebrating achievement of our forefathers and women and the men that came before us that set the stage for us to live in dignity and to also to have the freedom that we have today. And we all have to acknowledge that freedom comes at a price, and these people these men and women sacrifice so much for us to live in dignity. So we celebrate them. And also there's an African proverb that says, a river that forgets its source will eventually dry out. And that's exactly what we're trying to do, because we are not trying to dry out. Our next guest is Eric Sheppard. Eric Sheppard is the president and the founder of Diversity Restoration Solution. He's also a veteran of the U.S. Air Force. Eric also started the first family genealogy research in 1996. He's also a past member of the African American Historic and Geological Society. I welcome you to the show today, Mr. Sheppard. Welcome to Impact Africa, and thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me there, Kumba. I appreciate the opportunity.
So I was just curious, what is the Diversity Restoration Solution, and what exactly do you do?
Diversity Restoration Solutions is a company that I founded actually in 1992 as a part-time business, and I changed the focus after going to West Africa for the first time in 2006. I went to the Gambia, which was my first introduction to the African continent. And after arriving there and spending some time there, it was the first time in my life that looking the way I look and being who I am actually benefited me. And I seen all the opportunities there, and my focus has been since then to educate and gather the African American community here for homecomings there to the African continent. And our focus in West Africa at this point is the Gambia and Ghana, West Africa. So my company is organizing through homecomings here in the United States, in Virginia and North Carolina, which is where African Americans' first arrival into the United States under British rule in the year 1619. We came through Virginia, and then in the year 2019, it marks our 400-year anniversary milestone. And my company will be leading delegations back to Africa for what we call Exodus Homecoming Week, and which will spend a week in the Gambia, in Ghana, bring them back, and then pick up another delegation and take them over.
That is really wonderful. Actually, it's really an honor to talk to you, because I happen to be from the Gambia, and a daughter from the Gambia, daughter of the Gambia, and it's wonderful to hear that you've been to the Gambia. How was your experience?
My experience was wonderful. I've been back there several times since 2006, and made some terrific friends that are over there, that reside there, as well as some Gambians here in the United States. And I found it was, first of all, the weather is incredible compared to the East Coast of the United States in the summertime, and the experience was just wonderful, which for me the Gambia is a great or excellent entry point into Africa. The
Yes.
people are so friendly.
Yes.
Tourism ranks the second leading industry in the Gambia, so they know how to really welcome people into the Gambia, which I thought was no better place to go but to the Gambia initially for people who it will be their first time going home to the continent.
Yep, Gambia is really fantastic. We are called the Smiling Coast, and the people are very warm. The people are very inviting, and you will have a really wonderful, wonderful time in the Gambia. So, what is this? The Exodus Homecoming? Because I know the Gambia. You have Jifure, the Roots movie was based on Kunta Kinte and also Jifure. And just to have this as a homecoming and you coming to Gambia as homecoming, as an exodus, it's really, really fantastic. Can you tell us more about this exodus and homecoming to the Gambia?
Yes, well, my first experience into the Gambia, I was following Alex Haley. I did genealogical research on my family and thought, well, let me go what Alex Haley did and see what I could experience in the Gambia. It was, at the time you were having a Roots Festival there, which is based on Alex Haley's book and movie. I went there, experienced that, and I started looking at the story in the scriptures where the children of Israel went into their promised land of opportunity around the 400-year mark, and that's where we got the idea that those of us here who are descendants of people who've come over to the United States as enslaved people, at the 400-year mark, we need to look at a return as well. And so I know how friendly the people are in the Gambia, how welcoming they are, the Smiling Coast. And I thought what a great idea to have our Exodus homecoming right back there in the west coast of Africa, which is really home for us.
That is great. I know you will not be disappointed. You'll be welcomed by the Gambian people, and they will give you a fantastic time in the Gambia. And I want to actually come home here in the United States as well. I want to ask you something, because it's Black History Month, and there have been men that outstanding men that have sacrificed so much for us to be enjoying. They were because we are because they were. They did something, and the sacrifice that they've made. And I know you've worked with so many work in bridging the gap, and also in knowing our history. And I'm a big believer that we have to know where we came from, and we have to know the sacrifices that our forefathers have made for us to be who we are today. We have to celebrate it, we have to acknowledge it, and we have to reference it in everything that we're doing. I want to just share with you about Martin Luther King's dream speech, and then ask you a question about that. Let us not wallow in the valley of despair. I say to you today, my friends, even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold this truth to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice and the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little daughters will one day live in a nation where they'll not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And then Dr. King went to say, and when this happens, and when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all the God's children, black men, white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholic, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last. Now, listening to that speech, how are we doing in relates to the speech with Obama having a black man in the White House as the president of the United States, also dealing with Ferguson, and also with the Eric Garner issue in New York? How are we doing in relates to the dream?
Well, Dr. King said when this happens, and from my point of view or my perspective, it has not happened yet. Mm-hmm. So I don't think America has made it right in these 400 years, and I don't think African Americans, by and large, have gotten it right. We don't know our history, and we should stop depending on others to teach our history. If our history, if we go on a history trail or journey back, and we have bought into, like the gentleman that was your guest before me came on, the Tarzan type of mentality of Africa, then we have not measured up the way we should. Our history should be as important to us as anyone else's is. So from that perspective, we have work to do here, but America has not made, in my opinion, Dr. King's message and speech a reality in the year 2014. We still have issues that are not resolved, and we have to continue to work. And I think taking from the story of the scriptures where at their 400-year mark coming out of Egypt as it is written, they got to the point where after 400 years it just didn't work the way it was. So my belief is that we have to look back to Africa to create options and opportunities. But we should also be more enlightened about our history. And that's coming from a perspective that each individual should know about his family, his or her family, their ancestors, and the connection to Africa, and journey for themselves. We're just trying to put a platform together to make it easy and accessible for those who would like to be a part of it.
Okay, and this show is very solution driven, Mr. Sheppard. What do you think, as Africans, we can do to change this?
Well, at one of my family reunions in North Carolina, I asked people there, how many want to go to Africa with me? And only a few raised their hands. And then I asked the question, why?
Okay.
And one cousin from Chicago said it best, one word. He said, disconnected. So I think the Africans that were born on the continent that are residing here in America, and the African Americans that are descendants of people who were enslaved here, need to find a way to establish a bridge.
Yes.
To communicate, to get to know each other better, and take the mysticism out of our relationship. And I think we can start that now. It doesn't have to wait any time. We can actually start the dialogue, the conversation, and embrace each other as we should, because our destinies depend on it.
Yes.
And I think it's long overdue.
It is, yes, definitely. And I think this Exodus Homecoming that you're doing definitely builds a bridge, and I can see the possibilities, and I wish you the best of luck in that. What are, just a last question, so what are the other plans that you have in the pipeline working for diversity restoration?
Yes, well, in August, we're having our Underground Railroad Homecoming Day in Virginia, North Carolina area. That's August 7th and 8th. And then in November 23rd through 27th, we are planning our Exodus Homecoming Week to the Gambia. Mm-hmm. That's in the pipeline. And we have an opportunity to do some speaking engagements locally here in Virginia and North Carolina, and I'd like to expand that up the East Coast. So we have some things in the pipeline to get people prepared, to give them information, not only about our Underground Railroad homecoming, but how do you prepare even to go to the Gambia, a visa, immunizations, and then there's also, some concerns that people might have that we need to educate them and make them feel comfortable about making a trip.
Well, thank you so much. That was Eric Sheppard, the president of Diversity Restoration Solution. We thank you so much, sir, for coming to the show, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you having me on.
We'll take a very, very short break.
You are listening to Impact Africa. To connect with the program, please call 1-443-499-2755. That's 1-443-499-2755. You may also send an email to info@impactafricaonline.com or tweet @UImpactAfrica. Now, back to our show.
Thank you, and we'll go through the news all around Africa. Robert Mugabe, the president of Zimbabwe, is actually the new African Union chairman, and Mr. Mugabe, who is 90 years old. We wish him the best of luck and hope that the dream of getting the African Union to where it needs to be, we wish him the best of luck. And as well, Lansana Bacheli, who is the young Muslim employee of the Jewish supermarket who risked his life to protect customers during the terrorist attack in Paris, received a hero's welcome in his hometown of Mali after receiving French citizenship. We're very, very happy for him, and also all the great improvement in his life. Also, a 20-year-old current African female football player from Nigeria, Asisa Oshola, this afternoon was signed a contract with the Liverpool Ladies Football Club. Also, a Kenyan grandmother who is 90 years old is going back to school, and with his 6 grandchildren. We're very, very inspired by this story. Impact Africa is all about finding solution for Africans' problems. We thank you so much for joining us today, and until next week, keep impacting Africa and impacting your world. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Kumba.
Thank you for tuning in to Impact Africa. Please join us again next Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. GMT at listenvisionlive.com. Have a good week and keep impacting Africa.